Alright, round 3 of SSR just happened. How did we do?
In third place, by a very slight margin, is Sideways YT, aka BMW.
What's up, gamers? If you've been attentive, you probably would have noticed that every comp I've been going to, I'm getting my uterus plugged. That's not very cool. You know what else is very cool? The fact that my car sucks and I need a new one. Hey, guess what? I managed to get the last 3 firing neurons to stop bouncing around my cranium and focus on something productive. Now, a friend of mine has a gorgeous BMW that I think can ruin on for the 7. Quick disclaimer, Udder very recently made a video using the same tuning method on his channel, and I know the timing of my upload is very suspicious. I assure this is purely coincidental, and if LDR does have a problem, we can calmly resolve it in a peaceful street fight. Either way, now that I've wasted enough of your time to extend the runtime to 10 minutes, I think we should get to a gameplay clip. Cheers. I'm not allowed to be drinking that. When I watch this video, I'm gonna get smacked in the fucking jaw. Ah. Alrighty, so in case you missed what I was talking about in the introduction, basically I'm taking my mate's car, right? That's in real life. And I go all the way into the game and put it right in there. Wow, how kooky is that? I know, you tell me. Now, after we got the car in the game, let's say, like right now, we're gonna do some modifications. What type of modifications, you ask? That's a great question. Well, we're gonna homologate this car for an SSR open spec drift comp. As you know, I'm an absolute beast. Round 3 at Long Beach, I flogged it, I'm sorry. Or was it round 2? I don't know. It was a round. I can confirm that. But, we don't exactly have the... Due to limitations with Forza Motorsport 7's car list, we can't actually grab his car. His car, it kind of sucks, and no one likes it, so they decided not to include the game. Don't worry though, we're using a much cooler car, the BMW M588. It's pretty much the same thing, but it looks slightly cooler. Don't get me wrong, his car is absolutely gorgeous though. I'm very jealous. With the open spec, you can go spastic, and you can have, you know, a 500 horsepower car on 2,400 pounds. I don't like doing that personally, so we're just going to make this car... around 2,650 pounds. I'm pretty sure for 265s, you can have it up to 2,600 pounds, I'm pretty sure. There's one style of rim. It's really, really good because it's extremely light, but it also looks decent. Where is it? I use this rim a lot. You would have seen this in many of my vlogs. Especially for my ESDA Commodore, I did a lot of modifications to that in order to get it ready, because last round, I got flogged by Looney. It just was not competitive, but this round, really, I've made some drastic improvements. We're no longer using an RB26, we're using a, we're using the 2.6 litre V8, I'm pretty sure it's 2.6 either way, I'm just spouting bullshit. I'm not in the YouTube mode. Either way, so... just because I don't really care too much about this build, I'm going to put it on 2,500 pounds, and if I can, I'll drop it down to the 255s. But I don't imagine I can do that, just because Forza's tyres are really weird, so 265, 45, no. So we're going to leave it in 265 just to sake, you know, making it easy. While I'm in this menu, this is what I'm going to talk about. Alright, so while I'm here, I want to quickly mention, with the camshafts, it does more than just give you a massive power boost. You'll notice on, you see a performance index, and it actually, you'll notice over here, there's a, you'll notice here that it has the RPM, and then it has the actual, like, how much horsepower you have, and if you upgrade it, it actually increases the amount of RPM you have. With this, all you have to remember is, the higher your RPM, the lower your gear ratio can be without topping out. With V8s, you have to have a lot longer gear ratios in order to avoid topping out. Alright, let's put that there. 8 minutes, holy shit, we need to start driving. Oh, we're at 550 horsepower already. Holy shit. I want to try it out. Now, before any of you freak out, I know I haven't done anything in the tune, alright? Calm down. We're loading at Suzuka Circuit, we're going to do some laps, and then we're going to do some modifications. Now, the cool thing about this, hang on, please move. If you got one of these, right, you can tune anything. There's a very old school for tuning style that you can do, and I'm going to showcase it. That's the thing I was talking about in the introduction with LWR. I can already tell this car's going to be faster than mine, and it's the reason that it has a 49% weight distribution. That is absolutely crazy. Like, my car has a weight distribution of 53%. Basically means 53% of the car's weight is at the front. The more weight you have to the rear, the more rear grip you have, which means the faster you can drift. This has less weight in the front, so it's going to be an absolute monster. And you see it in the tune. Now, a lot of people, when they talk about this tuning style, they call it cheating, and they're certainly right. It basically is cheating. What a lot of people used to do is, go run laps, you finally tune it and try to figure it out. With this method, you just punch a bunch of numbers and you hope for the best. Now, not everything you can tune, not everything in the tuning setup you can actually use this for, but most of the stuff people get stuck on you can use this for. What I would recommend personally is mixing the old conventional setup with the new setup, but just for this, it's a quick build, so we're just going to do the old. We're just going to use this setup. So what you want to do, you want to grab your calculator and move over to the anti-roll bars. So basically what you want to do is take away the highest value from the lowest value. So in this case, it would be 39 because it's 40, take 1. And once you have that number, it changes. With the spring, for example, you'd find the highest spring value, take away the lowest spring value, and then multiply it by your weight distribution. In this case, I go 39 multiplied by 0.49. So we plug this in. 39 multiplied by 0.49. And that gives us a anti-roll bar value of 19.11. And then for the rear anti-roll bar settings, what you do is you do the exact opposite. So if it's 49 for the front, then you do 51 for the rear. If it's 53 for the front, you do 47 for the rear. Get what I'm saying? So I go 39 multiplied by 39 multiplied by 0.51, and that gives me a rear anti-roll bar setting of 19.89. Of course we can't get that because Forza's retarded. Actually, we got it spot on. We're lucky this one time. Don't stress if it's off by 1. It really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So this is where you can't exactly just haul out a number because the spring value is different every time. So in this case, it's 1025.2. One big mistake I made when I first started doing this is I just assumed that all spring values were the same, which are not. I think we're 128.1. So that gives us a value of 197.1. So what we're going to do to turn that into something we can actually use, we go and multiply that by 0.49, which will give us how much we want in the front. So our front spring setting will be 439.579. So it's going to go 440, just do a rounding up. And the same thing, so 7 multiplied by 0.1. And so I did the same with rear, and I got this. Now with the spring settings, according to the actual so according to the actual like article that was posted, you meant to add 100 to these values. I haven't actually done this except for my most recent build, the ESD build, and I found it greatly improved it. But for the SSR build, I found that the lower weight actually helped it a lot. So it really depends on the situation. With the spring values, it depends on what track, and these are more malleable than the anti-roll bars. The anti-roll bars, I'd say, are pretty much perfect for most situations, unless you're going for a very specific build style or there's a very specific issue bound to that car. The anti-roll bar, it's generalized in most cars. With the springs, there's a lot of leeway. So, say if you want to just think, cool, it might be a bit of rumble or a bit of track service. Maybe, for example, in round 4 for SSR, we're going to Homestead and the rain. You want to adjust your spring settings in order to accommodate the track style. So there's a lot more leeway with what you can do with the spring settings. So in that case, we're going to go to 540. And, oh. Oh, 540, not 521, fuck off. Now with the ride height, a common mistake people make is they slam it all the way down, and that can cause issues, especially with feedback. What I find is when I lower it all the way to the ground, it starts causing wheel oscillation. Now what that is when the car. Now wheel oscillation is basically when you get like the feedback clipping. So when you drive it, it's having a spaz attack. It's not the coolest. It feels horrible. It makes me cry. To avoid that, you want to make the conditions for the actual car as perfect as possible. That's why driving with better setups means faster and more clean turning. That's why driving with better setups leads to faster and smoother steering inputs and turning. Another thing to remember with drift setups is you generally want the front of the car to be higher than the rear. So always keep an eye on that. In this case, if I slam the car, the front end would have been way lower than the rear. And it just makes it awkward. So I like to generally have it 1 to 2 inches above the ground. I generally like to have it 1 to 2 inches higher than the rear. It just makes the car feel a lot smoother. Now with a rebound stiffness, it's the exact same thing. I know that the max value for this is 13 and the lotto is 1. You can check if you want, but I always know that. So I would go 12 multiplied by 0.49 to give us the front rebound setting, which is 5.88. And then for the rear, we'll go 5.89 because it's closer to that. Then for the rear we go 12 multiplied by 0.51. 0.51. And that'll give us 6.12. And I'm just going to stick with 1 because it runs closer to that. In order to get the bumps to display, basically what you do is you get this number and you multiply it by 50 and to get the bumps to get the bumps to this, all you want to do is take this number or any of the other numbers. And to get the bump stiffness, basically what you do is you get the rebound stiffness. In order to get the bump stiffness value, what you do is you take the rebound value and you multiply it by the 0.50, 0.75 or whatever. This one you can change in order to suit a certain style, but generally I like to go 0.5. It just works most of the time. So I'm going to go 5.9 multiplied by 0.59. Wait on. 5.9 multiplied by 0.5, which gives me 2.95, but I don't go to 3 because it rounds up to 3. And then 6.1 to try and do some quick maths. That should be around 3.2, I'm pretty sure. 6.1 divided by 0.5. So 6.1 multiplied by 0.5. It also goes 3 as well, so I'm going to leave it just because it doesn't make that much difference. Then for the differential, usually you want to have it a bit of a split. Having a slightly lower decel can actually make the car faster. with the differential settings, having 100% locked doesn't always give you the best car. Like, with the differential settings, having 100-100 split doesn't always give the best results because it's a quick build. It doesn't really matter, and it doesn't really affect the car's handling if you're just on a low level like SSR. In regards to the gear ratio, one thing you want to make sure you don't do is make them too short. You can have a lot of leeway with how you tune gears. You can super long, super tight, some gears are wonky. But if you have them too close, what will happen is you hit the rev limiter really fast, and your tyres will start to lose the drift because after a certain rev limit they can't go any faster, and you lose wheel spin. And losing wheel spin in a competition is generally not the best idea, so always keep in mind if you're hitting a rev limiter. I personally like to have my second gear kind of, top out at 95 to 98 miles per hour. So you can use that to, and you can just flog that setting. So we'll try and do that right now. Now for this, with the gear ratio, one of these equals 1 mile per hour. And one thing I also like to do is just because, it just looks better, I like to make them all even. And so I'm going to, the first thing I'm going to try is 3.55. So we'll try this. Generally, with this amount of power, you wouldn't be in a second. This car is really, really fast. Like, it's not even ready. Like, I haven't done anything like tire pressure or anything, and it's a really, really fast car. I haven't even cast or anything like that. So I'm put this down to around. I'm gonna go 315 with this. Caster you generally always want around 7. 6.5 is cool, but it just with forces physics you won't ever need to do anything like that. 26 minutes, holy shit. With camber, if you're in a controller, you don't really want much camber. With your camber values, if you're in a controller, you really don't want much camber. It messes your car a lot. Camber is more for wheel users. This is pretty much exclusive to Forza just because of the physics. But if you're in a controller, try to use lower camber. I know a great tuner called NRC Duke. I don't know him well, but that's something he personally told me when tuning for a controller. But with wheel, values between 2 and 4 generally seem to work perfectly fine. But you can sneak in some 5 degrees of camber if you really want to. And just saying that you can run high degrees of camber on a controller, but from what I've heard, I wouldn't advise that. With the rear camber, generally between 0.5 and of negative camber and 1 degree of positive camber, that's the range you want to work with. Any more than that, and especially rear negative camber, it doesn't seem to work very well. Now with tires, you want to check when you're drifting. You want to check the telemetry and see how much tire pressure you have. So I'm going to trip down to 24 psi. But when I'm driving, there's not much PSI the tires actually have. When the tires heat up, they expand and they get a higher tire pressure. So, for example, when you see ECA cars, spitting out, doing burnouts before they do their run, they're trying to heat up their tires to the best optimal tire pressure, which in Forza's case is around 32 psi. 32 psi is not always optimum, but it's generally a good consensus. So I'm going to tune this car with that mindset. And so after putting that down, the thing I immediately noticed is that second gear seems to be too short. So now that we're coming straight, you can see how fast we can actually go in second gear. I'm going to guess around 112, 106. That's not too bad. I'm going to shorten it down just because we don't exactly have much power. But another thing I might do is I might bring third gear down and maybe bring fourth gear down a little bit. Actually, I won't do any of that. I just leave it as it is because it's perfectly fine. But if I was actually doing this for a comp and trying to make it competitive, what I'd do is I'd bring third gear down a lot and have third gear around maybe 120 miles per hour, 110, and fourth gear would be really close, like almost like it'd be probably 5 to 10 miles per hour higher than the third gear. Fifth gear would also be very tight, and sixth gear I'd let it extend it a little bit more, just get a bit more speed in the initiation. But yeah, apart from that, this is pretty much already a perfect car. Like, you could run this in a comp and do decently well. All I need to do is bring down the actual gear ratio, and that should be good. But instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to tune setup, go to gear ratio, watch this unextend the second gear, all the way to 190. Wait, I want to tighten it, don't I? No, I'm not going to do that. That's a terrible idea. We're going to bring that to 330, and that should be the value we want. 29 minutes. Fucking hell. Basically, at driving distance, I'm going to go to the camera settings and I lower the front camera settings all the way down to about 3. I feel like it's getting too much angle, it causing to over-rotate in some sections, causing some corrections, and that's just not cool. So that was very cool. That was a very nice entry. So I'm going to finish up this run and then we're going to hit some multiplayer lobbies because Gucci gang. So there's a pretty good run, there's a lot of directions in it, but for a car that took me about 10 to 5 minutes to build, it fares really well. It's a very fast car. You could totally use this tune to compete in round 4 of SSR. Now, overall thoughts of this car, it is a very, very nice car. I didn't expect to actually feel this very Now, actual thoughts on this car, I didn't expect this car to feel that nice. It's a great feeling car. The weight distribution thing I got used to, the 49 split, it gives the rear a lot more grip than I'm used to as I adjust my line and the way I handle my throttle accordingly, but it's an actual great car. This is obviously competitive. I could use this to compete in round 4, no problem. I'm going to stick to my combo just because the combo is sick and I have a lot of a lot of seat time in that car. But if you want to, you could totally use this and compete and actually be competitive. A very fast car, very smooth. What I suggest if you're going to use this tune is maybe touch up on the cam settings and possibly mess around with the toe settings. I found that toe can greatly change the way your car handles. For example, on long reach I had 0.2 positive toe out in the front, and it was great. It gave me a lot more extra speed. I could get up to 60 miles per hour on the on turn 2. But when it came down to Rodolena, it caused me a lot of problems, especially in practice. The first week of practice, I was struggling to you know, on the horseshoe section, I was struggling to get angle and keep speed because of that toe. I took it off and instantly I gained like 5-10 miles per hour, and I was able to gap most drivers on there. So yeah, try mess around with settings, try and figure out what works for you. See, I apologise for the lack of actual entertaining commentary. I'm just sick. I'm not feeling it today. That's why I cracked open the V. Even though my mother didn't want me to have a V. I can't really commentate. I don't know what it is to me today, but I just don't have the energy that YouTubers that usually have. But this car, very solid. I'd recommend it. We're going to take this online now and test it. It's possibly
1